Welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, your weekly dose of strategies and mindset tools to build a business in alignment with your purpose and to get you playing a bigger game. I'm your host, Nicole Lano. Hello, and welcome to the Limitless Entrepreneur Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Nicole Lano, and we're here today for a little series we're going to do on lead generation by design. This is a question that came up from a listener, and she asked for her particular type, and I was like, oh, maybe it'd be cool to do one of these Monday episodes. We'll do this lead generation series, and we'll do them for each of the types. So we're going to cover the manifesting generators and generators today, how to lead generate as a manifesting generator and a generator. Since you have the same strategy, we're putting you together. So that's why we're looking at you two together. I'm a manifesting generator, so I would get annoyed too, where I'd be like, I want my own show. I don't want to be lumped in this category. But sometimes it makes sense to separate you guys, and sometimes it makes sense to put them together. I would just be doing the same exact episode, and why would I make you listen to both of those? So the strategy for generators and manifesting generators is the same. It's to respond. So we're going to be talking about the same thing. So the question that came up was, the question from the user was, how can a generator go about lead generating in a way that's not initiating? So cold calling, warm calling, things like that feel like initiating and they don't feel good. So what could a generator do differently? So I go into this in my program. This is why there's a life by design side, like becoming the woman that you want to be by design. And then there's the business side. And a lot of it, the reason that, so I'm going to give you the strategy. I'm going to tell you what it is, but the way that this works, like inside the programs, is it's unlearning a lot of the ways that we have done things always. The initiating strategy is just do the thing. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I said that I would lead generate. That means I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to cold call people, or I'm going to cold DM people, and I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to pound the pavement. And for most people, that feels pretty gross. And it doesn't feel aligned, or sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. And first of all, I'd ask you to pay attention to if it ever does feel good, what made it feel good. Start to notice that. There are probably things in your design that would point you in that direction anyway, but work backwards. Okay, it feels good right now. What's different about right now than the other day when I tried to do this and I wanted to scratch my eyes out? So initiating, what initiating is, I got an idea, I'm going to go do this. I know what I'll do. I have a problem. Let me think about it. What's the solution? I don't have any sales. Okay, what do I do? It's the end of the month. I better make some phone calls. Okay, now you go do it. That's initiating, right? So let's define that. We don't want to do that. Manifestors, that is their strategy, but even they wouldn't necessarily operate like that. So we'll get to that in the manifestor episode. But for generators and manifesting generators, let's just look at this. Y'all have been listening to this show for a while. What's your strategy? It's not to initiate, but it is to respond. So for something like lead generation, for a topic like lead generation, an activity like that, how could you approach it from a perspective of response instead of initiating, instead of being reactive, and instead of just having an idea or something being on your calendar for you to do that day? How could you use it in response instead? So it's really about changing your habits and changing the way that you work. Productivity is going to start to look different for you, for everybody, once you start to work and live by your design. The reason is that you're going to start paying attention to what you are responding to. So lead generating, I'll talk about it from my perspective because I am a Manny Gen. And the way that I lead generate is I am in response. And I'm not doing all of the, I eat what I kill, meaning I go out every day and I hunt. That's not how I lead generate. There are other aspects of my design besides my type that point to me going out and trying to hunt every day as not at all being in alignment for me. In fact, they're part of my not self. and block me from receiving. But that's very nuanced, and that's something that is more advanced, and I need to look at every single person's chart. It's not a hard and fast rule. There are different aspects of everybody's design that kind of point to what's the best method for you. And it's also part of the experiment. We try things, we work with them. It's part of how, now this person, I happen to know the person who asked this question. She sent it to me on Instagram, which by the way, if you have questions, send them to me on Instagram, DM me, and maybe I'll add them to the show if I think it's a question that everybody could benefit from the answer. So please just send them over to me in DM. I'm very accessible at Nicole Lano Official. But I happen to know the person who asked this question. And she is an entrepreneur, but she's not a coach. I don't believe she sells much online. It's mostly a belly-to-belly or cold calling sort of business. So to answer her question, it would be, you have to be in response in order to make those calls. So are you walking through your daily life and then you think of somebody, or you suddenly are in the mood to make a phone call, or someone pops into your head and makes you feel something. So that's sort of that you would use that as a response to call that person. And now I also know this person's design, I believe. I think you are a 4-line. You know who you are. I believe you have a 4-line in your profile. If you have a 4-line in your profile, so again, we're looking at more than just the type here. So I'm going a little bit off book, but it's what I do. Because this stuff is not, like when people just say like, oh, it's just this thing. It's not. There's so much more to it. And the more you get to know yourself, this is how human design becomes the most powerful tool and the most customizable tool for self-mastery. And then you're not asking yourself these questions all the time. You're just living this way. But I believe this person is a 4-line, has a 4 in her profile. And when you have a 4 in your profile, you have to be thinking about you're building relationships. So you're always doing that. And as a 4-line, you're going to be looking at this and saying, like, who am I responding to? What situations am I being brought to? You're not really meant to be cold calling because those are strangers, and you're not really meant to have impact on strangers. You're meant to have impact and influence over the people who are close to you. So I would probably tell you, don't be cold calling, be working on building your warm market, be working on that networking part. And I would be choosing which networks I grow, and the way that I do that through response. What am I responding to? Who invites me to something and I go, ooh, my sacral goes, ooh, I want to go to that. Or do I see a flyer? Or does something come across my Instagram? Or do I get a text message from somebody? Or does someone mention someone's name? Does someone say Mary? And that makes me think of my friend Mary from high school. And I message her on Facebook and say, oh, I was just thinking about you today. You popped into my head. I just wanted to say hello. How are you? That would be response. That would be me being in response to life, picking up a breadcrumb and putting it in my pocket, right? And taking that step in the direction of that breadcrumb. That's how we're using response. That's how we are dancing with life instead of just deciding that we're doing things, doing them not working out, and then us getting frustrated because you're a generator. That's where you'll end up. You'll be in frustration, and then you're not going to want to do anything else. And this is why you get stuck, because frustration leads to just a despondent sort of feeling for generators, and we don't want to end up there. So learning to work with your energy, learning to work with your particular, like I call it the authority matrix. If you went to my masterclass, then you know what that is. If you didn't go to the masterclass, there's still time to catch up. If you're catching this right when I release this episode, the replay is still up until, the 15th? Yeah, the replay is still up until March 15th. So if you're listening to this before March 15th, go to nicolelano.me/masterclass, and you can get access to the replay for that, where we go through the authority matrix in that masterclass. If you went to that, you understand how these pieces start to work together, and that's how you can lead generate in a way that feels authentic to you. And if you really want to go deep into this, this is something that I speak to in my programs. This is what I teach inside my program, is how you can be using your authority to lead generate in a way that feels good for you, how you can choose the right modalities. So this podcast is an example of how I used my authority matrix to choose where I was putting a lot of my energy, how I come up with the episode ideas for the show, how I present myself here, all part of that. How I put together my offer suite, all part of that. The funnel by design is sort of a way that you can look at that, and the way that I look at it inside the program. So these are all the pieces that can be put together, but you want to be asking yourself, generators, how can I be in response? Am I in response right now? If you're cold calling, you better be picking people intuitively off that list. Let yourself respond to a person on the list. But if cold calling feels awful to you, then you've got to go and romance the sacral a little bit and get her on board to even want to do something like that. Otherwise, you're going to bring funky energy into it, and nobody's going to want to be around you. Nobody's going to want to talk to you, and it'll be a waste of time. But the thing that you can be doing is using your energy wisely. So 4-line, go build your network. Go be tapping that warm network. Go to lunch with somebody, have coffee, go to a networking meeting, do something that feels good to you, because relationship building is core to your success in life. Everything's going to be about the people that you're connected to. So I hope you found this useful. I hope that I'm excited about this series, because I think that this lead generation is also, like, we think about it just like, oh, how do you go and like connect with people online and sell them in 5 minutes? That's not how I look at lead generation. Most people that have any success don't. Most people, that's not how we do it. There is a process of bringing in leads and nurturing them. And that would be how you approach things according to your design. And that's why it starts with the response to something, but then you're building, what's the nurture aspect to it? How long is your nurture sequence? All of that is going to be tied to your design. Like I said, this podcast is mine. This is my nurture. This is my lead generation. This is a big part of my lead generation strategy. Why? Because I get lit up when I record this podcast. I structure the episodes so that they are doing a job for me as well. And this podcast monetizes month after month, thousands of dollars each month. That is by design. A 4-line, like I said, you would be making more personal connections, not necessarily looking to cast that big wide net. You're going to want to go deep with people. And if you're a generator, you're choosing those things based on response. So start to piece these things together. I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you found this insightful. Always do. I hope you found it practical. And if you, like I said, if you didn't join us for the masterclass and you're listening to this before March 15th, you can still jump in at nicoleleno.me/masterclass. If you want to enter into being to winning a spot on this podcast where you get to have a free HD reading on the show with me and plug your business, then please leave a review on Instagram, leave a review on iTunes, take a screenshot of that review, then post that in Instagram stories, tag me at Nicole Leno Official, and that's your entry. We will choose a winner at random at the end of the month, and then we'll reach out to you and let you know if you are the lucky one, and you'll get to be on this show with me. How fun is that? I hope to see you here. So guys, I hope you found this useful. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope to see you inside the program. Doors are open for my group program. If you are looking to dive deeper into your design, if you want to have radical shifts in your life, if you want to work less, make more, and you ultimately want to live by your design and become a master of yourself, then this is the place for you. We have a personal version and we also have a business version. So we'll be taking it in there. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me on Instagram over at Nicole Leno Official. Send me a DM and I'm happy to hop on a call with you and find out if this is right for you. So have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Remember, you are only limited by the limitations that you accept. And when you stop accepting those limitations, that is when you become limitless. So go out there, be limitless, everyone, and I will see you in the next episode. If you loved this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast. And if you want to stay in touch with us, we would love to have you as a part of our Facebook community, Practical Manifestors. It's a community for process-driven women looking for clear and actionable steps to embodying a life of wealth and alignment. Join us at Practical Manifestors in Facebook or go to www.innerceogroup.com.